something happening here.
Welcome to TNZ Talk with radio veteran Tony Trupiano and Huffington Post blogger and writer at Liberals Unite, Richard Zombeck, where they do lean left, but always talk straight.
I think we should take a drug test prior to the debate.
I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be good. I think he's going to be the Che Guevara of deplorables.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Welcome to this Monday, October 17th, 2016 edition of TNZ Talk. And we'll be drug tested. That's for damn sure. I have no problem with that. I'm Tony Trupiano. Joining me now is Richard Zombeck, the Z in TNZ. And Z, before we get started on the madness that is Donald Trump, the interesting twists and turns of what is Wikileaks, we have some good news to share. Our begging at the beginning of the show seems to be bearing some fruit.
It looks that way. We're on our way slowly with the help of a couple more people over the weekend that went to our page. And for the rest of you who listen on a regular basis, you can support the show like some very kind and generous people have. You can go to tandztalk.com, click on support, or you can go to patreon.com/tnztalk and find out how to support us with a monthly support donation. Based on certain amounts, we also have some swag, T-shirts and hoodies and coffee mugs that are associated with certain amounts of funding, and you can show that off to your friends. Again, that's tnztalk.com. Click on support, find out how to support us. And, of course, ratings and reviews in iTunes. And we're on a ton of things right now. We're on Stitcher, on Google Play, on iHeartRadio, iTunes, of course. And everything you can possibly want to know about us, including our Facebook, Twitter following, and links is also on tandztalk.com. So please support us. We're listener-funded radio. We do this, we try to do it 5 days a week, and most of the times we succeed, barring all other emergencies and financial crises. But, yeah, tnztalk.com.
All right. Before we get into some topics, on a personal note, two things actually on a personal note. I have a home studio, as do you, and my neighbor's having a new roof put on, and it's quite loud. And so if you hear noise in the background that sounds like construction noise, you'll know why. Number two, and Z, I'll throw this to you as well. I had gone on to eBay and bought a replacement remote for my television receiver, only to get it to find out that it was the wrong remote. And I bought it really cheap. I mean, it was really cheap. It was like $9. And it looks exactly like the one I have, with one exception. It is a TV remote and not a receiver remote. So I contact the seller, tell him what happened. He goes, no problem, just send it back, and I'll refund your money. Well, by the time I go to the post office and buy the stuff I need to buy to ship it back and then pay for the postage, I would get back about $2. So I think I'm just going to throw it away. Your thoughts?
I think that's a good plan, Tony.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to work with my TV. It's not going to work with my receiver. It's just not, I mean, and it's in, perfectly good shape. It's just not going to help me at all. So I'm sitting here on my list of to-do things, and that's on there. And so yesterday, I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute here. You're going to have to buy a padded envelope. You're going to have to pay postage. And I've been through this before. Even if I send it back slow boat to China, it's only going to be like 30 cents less than sending it priority mail. So it was like, why bother? I mean, seriously, why bother? So I've taken it off my to-do list.
Sounds reasonable.
Okay. Well, at least we sound reasonable, which is a nice segue into the insanity that is now continuing to unfold in what we're calling the 2016 election cycle. And before we get into Donald Trump, I'd like to talk a little bit about Wikileaks. There has been in the media they're saying this drip, drip, drip of information, this slow drip. Well, it hasn't been a slow drip. It's been a heavy dump for the last week. And I'll be honest up front, Z, I have not read every story. I have not read every email. I have not read every transcript. But I know this. Number one, we haven't been able to verify that it's authentic. But I'm going to go with the assumption that it is. Okay? I'm going to go with that assumption, that everything that they're dumping is true. So what?
Yeah, well, and some people have read it, and I'm not talking about Clinton surrogates or left-wing nut jobs. I'm talking about a lot of unbiased reporters and journalists, and have basically come back with that it's pretty much a giant nothing burger.
Well, the Washington Post, now this was a week ago. This was before some of the dumps that happened throughout the week, had an op-ed that was titled, What We've Learned from Hillary Clinton's Wikileaks, ... that she's reasonable.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty mundane stuff in the world of politics.
Well, it puts you in the weeds, and the average person isn't going to understand most of it. Most of it, by the way, is strategy that most of the time doesn't end up in the public purview anyway. The whole point of strategy is to go back and forth, is to debate it, is to say from one strategist to another, or somebody on the campaign, hey, we're thinking of doing this, or what do you think about this message, or how about if we test this? Why don't we do a focus group on that? Most people don't even know what a focus group is. Most people have never participated in a focus group, Z. Yeah. So they would have no clue what that's all about. And at the end of the day, this is, and now they're going back to 2008, and it's getting ridiculous. It's just getting ridiculous. And even her speeches to Goldman Sachs and other things, and I did read that stuff. Listen, if I'm in front of, the Forest Rangers of America, I'm going to talk about the great work they do, even though we have forest fires.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, and it's pandering to a degree, but it's perfectly understandable and accepted.
Well, it's called politics.
Well, of course it is. Of course, and to sit in front of a bunch of bank. I mean, really. I mean, aside from maybe Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, who wouldn't get paid for a speech to Wall Street. I don't think there's any.
Wouldn't get invited to give a speech to Wall Street.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there's a politician alive that would sit in front of a banking symposium or event and go, hey, as far as I'm concerned, you guys are all a bunch of crooks, and you need to stop ripping off consumers. I just, as much as I'd love to see that happen, I don't think it's going to.
No, and even in the remarks that Hillary made, okay, maybe it's a stretch to go, well, she was being a little vague, and she was. But depending on what side of the issue you sit on, it's either, very pointedly saying, hey, you're not at fault, or it's a variation of that in whatever gradient that you want to use. Again, at the end of the day, there's nothing that's come out that has been, oh my God, what in the hell are they doing?
Yeah.
So, now, listen, who was it? Obama advisor, David Axelrod, actually tweeted yesterday that Hillary shouldn't even show up for the debate on Wednesday because with what Donald Trump's been doing since a week ago Friday, that there's no way he's going to do anything but go to just below the belt.
From 0 to 60 on the hate highway.
Right. And so, he's suggesting she shouldn't even show. There have been, of course, other rumors that are spinning out there that Donald Trump is not going to show. This, like the other two, they've been forums or showcases. They have not been debates.
Well, yeah. I mean, and again, I mean, you and I talked about that this morning. It's like, I mean, you had mentioned your weekend of news watching. I don't think I did because you talk so much that I can't even get a word in edgewise sometimes.
Yeah,
but,
right. Okay.
But
just listen to Friday's show, folks. And,
yeah, I know.
I'm teasing. Go ahead.
Alas, I will suffer the slings and arrows for you all. Alas, I just love that. I think I got to get that little clip and just play it every once in a while. Alas.
Just to make yourself feel better.
Just to make it's not all about me all the time, though, Tony.
Yeah, let's talk to Pamela about that.
Well, I am. Anyway, I'm not gonna get into that.
Okay.
I actually I went up to Maine yesterday to visit my mom and to give my brother a ride up there, who is visiting not only from out of town but from out of country, and I didn't really watch much yesterday myself either. I mean, I caught some here and there. I caught the highlights. I mean, really, at this point, if you turn on the TV and watch it for, 20 to 30 minutes, you're pretty much going to catch the news of the day because it's all about Donald Trump saying something just completely ridiculous and his followers just agreeing with him. You know what? I did want to, on that same note, I want to... There was an article in the Huffington Post that's titled, "This is a genius response to Trump voters who think the election is rigged." And they point you to a website called istheelectionrigged.com. That's a website from a data scientist by the name of Chris Albon. And this is the last two very short paragraphs that they say at the end here. "We're not going to spoil the incredibly convincing evidence Albon has assembled to make this case. Check it out yourself. But suffice it to say, he concludes that the election is definitely not rigged. Getting the Trump-loving hordes to visit the website is a foolproof way to cure them of their electoral paranoia." I don't know what I'm not even going to mention the author's name, but this is not a blogger. This is a reporter at Huffington Post. Who to me seems completely delusional in what he thinks is going to convince Trump supporters that Trump is not lying and making most of this stuff up. And the one thing that you certainly can't use, or let's say the handful of things that you certainly can't use to convince a Trump supporter of anything, is science and data. I mean, that just isn't. That's going to work contrary to anything that you would think would work in the normal realm of reasonable thought. And this is just a silly article. I mean, is it a cool site, and is it great that it was done by a data scientist? Sure, but to actually put down in writing that this is a foolproof way to convince Trump supporters is just, this should have been put in entertainment instead of under the politics section. And in fact, I thought everything about Donald Trump was in the entertainment section, but apparently it's not anymore.
No, it hasn't been for a while. It's interesting. I was watching Morning Joe this morning, and they were talking about quote-unquote rigged elections. And I don't remember who the talking head was that said, and they went through a litany. Actually, it was after Morning Joe. They went through a litany of election experts, including the very nonpartisan Brennan Center for Justice at New York University, that have confirmed that since 2000, there have been 31 cases of election fraud. That means 31 votes out of the billions of votes that have been cast in local and national elections since 2000, 31 votes have been fraudulent. 31. You have a better chance of being struck by lightning 3 times. But, let's not focus on facts here, Richard Zombach. Let's just continue to drive home 2 messages. Number 1, the elections are rigged against Donald Trump. And number 2, it's a liberal media conspiracy.
Well, and the thing is, too, is that you're starting to see more and more that he's taking his cues from Breitbart and Steve Bannon and Infowars and Alex Jones. I mean, that's the really scary thing. Let's remind people that Alex Jones thought that Sandy Hook was faked, that 9/11 was an inside job, and that somehow the San Bernardino shooting was also planned by our own government.
Go, Donald. All right, well, let's start with a little levity, and then we'll get serious. Saturday Night Live, of course, loves to spoof the Donald and Hillary, and they're not even-handed. I'll be the first to admit that, and I, only grabbed a little bit of what was about a 9-minute skit, but I think the beginning of it is pretty damned good. So if you would, Z, let's start off that way.
Welcome to the second and worst ever presidential debate. I'm Martha Raddatz.
And I'm Edison Cooper. And before we begin, we just need to do one last thing.
Oh, much better. Now let's get this nightmare started. Please help us welcome the candidates. Republican nominee Donald Trump, and can we say this yet?
Probably fine.
President Hillary Clinton. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'd like to begin tonight by attempting a casual lean. Got it.
Martha, tonight I'm going to do 3 things. I'm going to huff, I'm going to puff, and I'm going to blow this whole thing.
Now, tonight's debate is a town hall, which means we'll be taking questions from voters in the audience. They are undecided, uncommitted, and not remotely camera ready.
Secretary Clinton, we'll start with you. Your question comes from Patrice Brock.
Hello. My question is, do you feel that you're modeling appropriate and positive behavior for today's youth?
Hi, Patrice. Let me start by walking over to you just as I practiced. Right, left, plant, speak. Now, Patrice, you're a teacher?
No.
You have kids?
No.
You like kids?
No.
You've seen kids?
Yeah.
Okay, great. We're bonding already. Oh, my friend Patrice. Patrice, I strive to be a positive role model for all children. Children like my daughter, Chelsea, and my granddaughter, Chelsea Jr.
Mr. Trump, same question. Do you feel you're modeling appropriate and positive behavior for today's youth?
No, next.
So you don't care about the kids?
Anderson, I love the kids, okay? I love them so much I marry them. I've been helping kids my whole life. In 1992, I helped a kid named Kevin McAllister find a hotel lobby. You might remember the documentary Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Okay, moving on. Mr. Trump, we received a lot of questions online about the audio tape that was released last week of you bragging about sexually assaulting women.
Listen, what I said is nothing compared to what Bill Clinton has done, okay? He has abused women, and Martha Anderson, hold on to your nips and your nuts. Because 4 of those women are here tonight, 4 of them.
Wait, I'm sorry, who's here? Mistresses? Bill, how could you? How will I go on with the debate? No, I'll never be able to remember my facts and figures now. Oh, Donald, no! Get real. I'm made of steel. This is nothing. Hi, girls.
The last part was particularly good.
Yeah,
I mean,
and at the beginning, let me just share that before the woman playing Martha Raddatz and the guy playing Anderson Cooper, they take a shot of booze.
Yeah.
They said, one thing before we start, and then, of course, there was the handshake that didn't happen, which was just perfect. I also want to point out, if they go to our Facebook page at TNZ Talk Podcast, I also posted something called Melania Aid, that is a video that SNL also aired, and it is absolutely freaking fantastic. And so I wanted to make sure that people go check that out.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to have... Did you put that on Facebook?
Yeah, it's on our Facebook page.
Yeah, I'll have to check. I didn't see that, so I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I mean, it's really good. I don't know who the hell comes up with this stuff, but very quickly before we move on,
let me just give the URL of the Facebook page that you can go like. It's as usual, facebook.com/T&Z Talk. That's TANDZ Talk. So facebook.com/T&Z Talk.
Yeah, go check it out. Z, and that was actually very funny, very poignant. Obviously, and I love the part, the Republican candidate Donald Trump, and can we say it, President Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live, for people that don't know, delayed their season opener for 2 weeks so it would come after the first debate.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and I mean they for obvious reasons, and it's clear what side of the aisle they're on, and I'm fine with that, and I think other people are. But this is our segue to Donald Trump's reaction to that, which I know you're aware of. He tweeted that now Saturday Night Live is helping to rig the election against him.
Yeah, I know. Talk about can't take a joke. I mean, really, we just heard it, right? They make just as much fun of her as they do of him. I mean, this is parody. And really, if you're going to start whining about they're making fun of me, then really you have no business. No business.
Well, it is what it is. So I'm just going to ask you this question. Not that I don't know the answer, but, we need to have the dialogue. Do you believe in any way, shape, or form that this election is rigged?
No.
All right. Now, if you were a surrogate for the Trump campaign, of course, that would mean you died and were resurrected. But if you were a surrogate for the Trump campaign, let's say like Rudy Giuliani or Newt Gingrich, would you really be out there as the messenger on the rigged election issue?
Well, so here's the thing, and we're going to listen to some clips here that will corroborate basically what you and I are talking about, is Donald Trump is saying in no uncertain terms that the election is rigged in a way that would horrify most of us, right? That this is a government conspiracy, that this is that there are evil forces in this country rigging the election. What his surrogates are trying to explain is that they seem to think that it is rigged by the media, that the coverage is so blatantly anti-Trump that it's going to make it impossible for him to win fairly. And then, while they're saying that, Donald Trump is tweeting out that, no, it is in fact not just rigged by the media, it's rigged by the government as well. A la Alex Jones and Steve Bannon, that there's a government conspiracy to turn us all into liberal Sharia law-loving homosexuals. Now, the issue that I have with this is
Sharia law-loving homosexuals?
Yeah.
Somebody needs to write that down.
You like that?
Yeah, it's pretty good. See, and that was off the top of your head.
Yeah, it was. I'll make it into a meme later today.
Please do.
So here's the Republicans have a habit of biting themselves in the rear end when they do things like this, because they'll say something completely ludicrous that the elections are rigged in this country, and then they'll win an election and they'll go, well, yeah, we won fairly, right? But in the meantime, for the past 2 years, they've been saying that elections are rigged. And not only that, but the sheer danger and potential animosity that they're causing with this, that they're putting doubts in the minds of people who are already irrational and ignorant. And I want to make this clear, because when I say ignorant, I don't mean stupid. You can be extremely smart and still be ignorant to facts and to reality, as a lot of the deplorables are, and they are deplorables. I mean, there are things and conversations going on in a certain faction of our society and of our country that is racist, bigoted, anti-woman, misogynistic, anti-Semitic. And a lot of them, a very good portion of them, happen to be Trump supporters. Now, does that mean that all of Trump supporters are in that basket of deplorables? No. However, if you support this guy for the president of the United States, whether or not you're anti-Semitic or bigoted or racist or a misogynist, you support misogyny, bigotry, racism, and anti-Semitism, because you apparently don't have a problem with it.
All right. Let me just share with you, not unlike a lot of communities around the country, I now live in a smaller community that has their own local paper, one of those free papers, right? And I picked one up on Saturday, and as I was eating dinner on Saturday evening, I was kind of just going through and, reading the headlines and, figuring out what I was going to read in further detail later on. And I got to the letters to the editor part. And the headline was, and I almost choked on my taco salad that I'd made. The headline was, "There really is no choice. Trump, warts and all, is better than Clinton." And I read this with utter disbelief, because this man, who identified himself as a conservative, truly believes that, quote-unquote, warts and all, which is an interesting phrase for everything you just said, is better than Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, well, let's do a quick comparison here, if you don't mind. So there was and you know this, there was a GOP office in North Carolina that was firebombed yesterday. Is that right?
Yeah, Saturday night, Sunday morning. Sometimes between 9 p.m. Saturday night and 9 a.m. Sunday morning. And I don't know why they don't know that more specifically.
Okay. Hillary Clinton's response to this was, "The attack on Orange County HQ office is horrific and unacceptable. Very grateful that everyone is safe." Also, the Democrats put up a GoFundMe page for $10,000 to rebuild the GOP office. The Democrats put up a GoFundMe page to rebuild the GOP office with a goal of $10,000, and within a few hours had raised $13,000. Donald Trump's tweet, by contrast, is, quote, "Animals representing Hillary Clinton and Dems in North Carolina just firebombed our office in Orange County because they are winning."
Yeah, that I mean, the logic there is absolutely convoluted. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane what he is doing. But I don't want to get too far away from the rigged election topic, because we have actually quite a bit of audio on both sides of this. But we should really start with Donald Trump's take on rigged elections, because that puts into context what Rudy Giuliani and Newt Gingrich said. And we'll differentiate what's going on here, but we need to hear what Donald Trump said first, don't you think?
Yeah, and while you're listening to this, for those of you listening at home, in your car and whatever, at the gym, in the pool, in the hot tub, while you're on a walk.
Practicing Tantra, whatever.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I want you to listen very carefully.
No pun intended.
I want you to, when you're listening to this, just imagine to yourself how Donald Trump speaks in the normal course of a day and an event, and any one of his, supposedly gigantic events. And then I want you to and listen, a huge China. And listen very carefully to how he speaks when he's reading off of a teleprompter, and when his speeches are written by the likes of people like Alec Jones, and more specifically, I think that Steve Bannon from Breitbart is writing a lot of this. The wording and the turns of phrases and the particular way that he says things. To me, that's extremely important, and it's starting to look like it's becoming important to people like Lawrence O'Donnell and other people. So listen very carefully to this. It's actually extremely interesting if you've ever read anything from Breitbart or listened to conspiracy theorists. And then, throughout your day, see if those phrases pop up with some of your Trump supporting friends and crazy uncles. So here's Trump on, I think this might have been in New Hampshire on Saturday, but here is Donald J. Trump.
Instead of being held accountable, Hillary is running for president in what looks like a rigged election. Okay? It looks to me like a rigged election. The election is being rigged by corrupt media, pushing completely false allegations and outright lies in an effort to elect her president. And you know what I mean. In fact, today, the cousin of one of these people, very close to her, wrote a letter that what she said is a lie. That she was a huge fan of Donald Trump. That she invited Donald Trump to a restaurant to have dinner. Which, by the way, I didn't go to. Didn't even know who the heck we're talking about here. But these allegations have been, many of them already proven so false. And in fact, the other one with People magazine, the butler, said it was a total lie. Remember the butler? The butler said it was a total lie. We can't let them get away with this, folks. We can't. Total lies. And you've been seeing total lies. But we're going to stop it. We're not going to back down. And remember this, it's a rigged election because you have phony people coming up with phony allegations with no witnesses whatsoever, ending up from 20 years ago, 30 years ago. How about this crazy woman on the airplane? Okay? I mean, can anybody believe that one? How about this? After 15 minutes, we don't know each other. After 15 minutes, she said, well, that was too much. And I decided, 15 minutes? With the ladies in this place, it would be 1 second and it would be smack. 15 minutes. No, it's a crazy world we're living in. But that's what I mean. It's a rigged election because they're taking these unsubstantiated, no witnesses, putting them on the front pages of newspapers. So it's a rigged election, but we're not going to let it happen.
All right. Now, let me, before we get into Giuliani and Gingrich and then Vice President Biden, let me just ask you a question because what little news I did follow over the weekend. It is unsubstantiated is not the same as unconfirmed, right? Well, the reason I say that is the talking heads on every network but Fox keep on saying that these are unsubstantiated but have not been confirmed by NBC or by CNN, whatever. And so, they've been substantiated by the women that claim that this happened, but have not been confirmed by independent sources, is my understanding of that.
Right.
Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, like there wasn't a witness in the room saying, "Yeah, I saw Donald Trump do that." But the I'll say for the most part, because I've seen interviews with the reporters who got the stories from the women, who were very skeptical of the claims and vetted vetted these women, that they felt comfortable reporting these allegations.
Yes, and I would agree with you.
Well, but here's,
right,
but I mean that's great, and I'm not saying anything untoward to you. It's great that you would agree with me, but people need to understand that there is a lot more to reporting, specifically things like this, than just getting an email and putting a camera in someone's face and letting them say Donald Trump attacked me and touched my vagina through my underwear and lifted up my skirt and fondled my breasts without my consent. There's a lot more to these kinds of allegations than just getting a phone call and sticking a microphone in someone's face and going, okay, tell me in your own words. Many reporters take these kinds of allegations very seriously because not only is the person that they're interviewing reputation at risk, which they take seriously, hopefully, but so is the reporter's reputation, and so is the outlet
and their job
and the outlet
and their job.
They work
not just
for.
their reputation. Their job is on the line.
I was getting there. As well as the outlet that they work for, and the editor's job, and the copywriter's job, and there's a lot of risk to following through with allegations like this, particularly in large media outlets. Now, a blogger risks potentially having his blog shut down and maybe Donald Trump suing him. But, how much money is Donald Trump going to get out of a blogger? And this is the problem that we have with it's incredibly easy to make a very good, attractive website look like a real news site, and that you've got hundreds of people working there. But when this kind of stuff comes out on large networks, there's been a tremendous amount of work put into this, and background checks and checking the veracity of the witness and the person claiming this. So these are not things that are taken lightly, and I want people to understand that.
And you have. All right, let's. So we take in context what Donald Trump said. It's a rigged election. He said it 5 or 6 times during that 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So he definitively said it's a rigged election. Okay? And when he was in Philadelphia last week, he talked about why it was important in the suburbs that people make sure that they're out monitoring the polls. All right? Because it's going to be a rigged election. Just in context, that's what he said. Rudolph Giuliani is out there defending what Donald Trump said. Notice, and it's not going to take a rocket scientist to figure this out, the difference between what Donald Trump said and what Rudy Giuliani is saying.
We have people who cheat in elections. I mean,
You're saying only Democrats cheat.
I've found very few situations where Republicans cheat. They don't control the inner cities the way Democrats do. Maybe if Republicans control the inner cities, they do as much cheating as Democrats.
All right. Now Newt Gingrich.
So you really think this election could be stolen? Do you believe that if Mr. Trump loses, it will be because of a massive conspiracy or fraud, not because more Americans voted for someone else?
I think that without the unending one-sided assault of the news media, Trump would be beating Hillary by 15 points.
Okay. Now, last but not least, Donald Trump's vice presidential candidate, Governor Mike Pence.
We will absolutely accept the results of the election. Look, the American people will speak in an election that will culminate on November the 8th. But the American people are tired of the obvious bias in the national media. That's where the sense of a rigged election goes here.
All right. Go on, Z. I'll let you comment first.
Well, I mean, my takeaway from those three is it's interesting because Mike Pence's response is very measured and reasonable, which indicates to me that he is they're all out for their own best interest, but on different levels. Mike Pence wants to continue in politics. Mike Pence wants to show that he's reasonable. Mike wants to show that he is a conservative with a conscience, and is basically saying, "Look, we'll accept the outcome no matter what it is because we're reasonable people and we believe in democracy." Then you have Gingrich and Giuliani that are only out for their own self-interest and think that bluster, vitriol, and hyperbole is what's going to get them more gigs and sell more books and get them noticed. So they continue to say outrageous things, and whether or not, I don't know that they really care whether or not Donald Trump wins. I think they only care that they're going to get more speaking gigs and get more notoriety, and that Donald Trump has turned up the volume on idiocy that they feel comfortable turning it up to maybe 9 or 10 themselves when, Donald Trump has turned it up to the Spinal Tap 11.
Yeah, no question about it. Well, Vice President Joe Biden was also asked about election rigging, and listen, you don't need to see the body language to hear it. And so let's play that.
You get the benefit of the doubt from these accusers.
In his own words, I don't have to even go to the accusers. When a man says that what he said is a textbook definition of sexual assault. I mean, it's a textbook definition. And the thing that makes it so believable that he engaged in that kind of activity is not just that he said it, is sort of instinctive abuse of power. He acts in the private sector. He acts in the way he treats employees. In that, I live in the penthouse. I'm a billionaire. I'm a star, and I can do what I want. That's the most disturbing piece. My father used to say the greatest abuse is abuse of power. Economic power, political power, physical power. And this is not a guy that shoots should be representing the United States in any way.
Why do you think it's not been disqualifying for even more voters yet?
I don't know how deeply it's sunk in to the consciousness. I don't know that, we think that something gets said once, twice, 10 times, 1,000 times over a period of a week, and everyone absorbs it. Most people are just trying to figure out how to put bread and butter on the table, so I don't know. I think it's sunk in, though, pretty deeply. It's changed the dynamic around the country in a pretty substantial way so far.
We have a coarse culture that has given this a permission slip.
This is a new level. And I was helping my daughter with my granddaughter. She's a senior in high school, with a paper last night. And she started asking me questions, and she's a bright, bright young woman. And I was embarrassed. I have 4 granddaughters. I was embarrassed.
Okay, obviously that was not Joe Biden on the rigging.
Well, that's all right. It was Joe Biden on Donald Trump, and I think that Joe Biden is really the voice of reason. Have you known? The 2 things I want to point out very quickly: Donald Trump really hasn't gone after Joe Biden, and he hasn't gone after Michelle Obama.
Yeah, well, that would be suicide.
But you've got to wonder why he's left Vice President Biden alone.
Yeah, I don't know, because he's a pretty easy mark, right? As far as like gaffes and what most people consider bumbling, I don't. I think we hear people be so happy with Trump because, he says what's on his mind and he speaks the truth or his truth and whatever. If anyone does that, it's Joe Biden. Except what comes off the top of Joe Biden's head and what comes off the top of Donald Trump's head, which I'm going to say is both in their heart. On the Joe Biden end of it, there's compassion, there's empathy, there's sincerity. Whereas Donald Trump, if that's what's in his heart, it's nothing but hate and disgust and disdain for other human beings.
I'm going to find it and I'll post it a little later on today. Joe Biden was giving a speech to a group of veterans a couple years ago on Memorial Day. And his son, Bo, had just passed away. And Bo, as you know, was a veteran. And somebody yelled out Bo's name. And the vice president pauses. And for 14 minutes, he talks about Bo. And he talks about sacrifice. And he talks about the military. And he talks about love of this country. Off the cuff. And to this day, I would have to put it in one of the top 5 speeches, hell with politics, top 5 speeches I've ever heard in my life. And I dare anybody to watch that and not get emotional. It was stunning. Stunning. And not once did he offend anybody. We had mentioned Alex Jones earlier. And Alex Jones is the king of conspiracy theorists. And the talking heads on television are finally starting to connect those dots. That Donald Trump is talking the way Alex Jones does. And for those that aren't aware of it, there was last week, early in the week and during last weekend, not this past one, the one before that, and it may still be going on, he was offering, Alex Jones that is, offering cash for people that would wear Bill Clinton is a rapist shirt and interrupting events that Democrats were at. And in fact, it happened when Hillary was in Detroit. This is the kind of guy that Alex Jones is. So that people understand, this is the kind of guy that he is. Well, the Clinton campaign thought they'd put together a little reminder of the perhaps connection between our friend Donald J. Trump and InfoWars' Alex Jones.
I will not let you down. You will be very, very impressed, I hope. And I think we'll be speaking a lot.
Sandy Hook is a synthetic, completely fake, with actors, in my view, manufactured.
I will not let you down.
The official story is a fable, and that inside job is the only explanation.
You will be very, very impressed, I hope.
They're the ones running ISIS. I mean, I've interviewed the cops and the people that saw the feds plant the bombs in Oklahoma City.
I think we'll be speaking a lot.
I think she's going to show up. And on drugs, though. She's going to be blacked out.
I will not let you down.
She's a frickin' demon, and she stinks, and so does Obama. And I go, like what? Sulfur. Now, I have the government documents where they said they're going to encourage homosexuality with chemicals so that people don't have children. I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. And I'll tell you, it is surreal to talk about issues here on air and then word for word hear Trump say it 2 days later. It is amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, nothing like a gay frog, Z.
Does he mean French people?
I don't know, but instead of ribbit, they go rubbit.
Oh God!
Hey, I had to.
That was horrible.
Yes, it was. Thank you very much.
I'm going to have to bleep that out.
Oh, stop. Yeah, it's just amazing that he says something on air, and then 2 days later, Donald Trump is saying it. Gee, I wonder why, Alex. I wonder why.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, we've got a couple pieces from Bill Maher and Zareed Zakaria. And everything Bill does, I love. So I'll let you set this up.
Yeah, he was on Fareed Zakaria over the weekend. I forget the name of his show, but anyway, Fareed Zakaria. What was really funny in my life, anyway, was I was at a meeting over the weekend, and I had told both my brother and my mom that I was going to be busy from noon to about 1:30 or so, and to not call me, that I have a hard time getting out and answering the call, and I'm not going to answer it in the middle of something. But they both called me. My brother for something unrelated. My mother called me to go, "You have to watch Zakaria. He's fabulous." My mother's French, of course, but she called me just to let me know that I needed to turn on the TV and watch, as she says, Zakaria. It is, of course, Fareed Zakaria, and here he is. Here he is with Bill Maher.
What does Trump do, in your view, after his probable defeat?
Not good things. I worry about that. I think a lot of people do, because first of all, he's got his knuckle draggers all riled up about the fact that this is a rigged election. I think I read 65% of his followers already believe it is a rigged election. It talks about Hillary putting her in jail. This is dangerous talk. We saw that woman at the Mike Pence rally this week. I mean, first of all, they live in this, again, alternative reality where the country's hanging by a thread, and if she is elected, it's this existential threat to our way of life on Earth. It's just insane. But if you have that mindset, and then he loses, what happens? I don't think he goes away. This is a Caesar crossing the Rubicon moment. He's got an army. What's he going to do with that army? I think he will be, people say he might start his own Fox News type station. I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be good. I think he's going to be the Che Guevara of deplorables. I think he's going to be a revolutionary out there, and he's going to be a martyr to this loss. I hope loss, and I don't know what they're prepared to do. They already talk about things like Second Amendment solutions. That phrase becomes a lot more acceptable.
That's the first clip. Should we just go right into the second one?
Yeah, let's do that.
I think you and I have discussed this, and I think it's something that I'm getting more and more afraid of when it comes to. And I think Bill Maher is absolutely right. I think I very much think that we could be looking at some violence on the night of the election, and more. Yeah, well, I don't know which is more likely. I was going to say more likely the next day, but I think there could be some real trouble in the upcoming weeks, Tony. I'm frankly a little concerned about it. But let's play the second clip with Zakari and Bill Maher.
You know, one of the things that we've all grappled with, which has been very tough, is how do you cover this race, and how do you cover Trump particularly when, you know, what he says things that are just not true. So, for instance, I even watched in this last debate, and Anderson Cooper said to him, do you think you have the discipline to be president? For example, you tweet late at night and you ask us to watch a sex tape, which, by the way, didn't exist. Right. And he says, I didn't. What are you supposed to do at that point when, you know, he did tweet it, and how many times do you do that?
Well, I think the media, you know, has been going downhill for a long time, with notable exceptions. But I think one of their big problems is that they confuse fair and balanced with false equivalency. You know, he's not the same as Hillary Clinton. I mean, Politico did a study of how much they lie. She lies about 28% of the time, somewhat or fully, which is about pretty good for politicians.
Right, it's about the average.
He lies like 80% of the time. Like, she lies less than most politicians. He lies more than anybody we've ever seen. He just says whatever comes into his head. I think it's the media's job to point that out. I know he's going to stammer and yell, and he does. I saw it at the last debate. He's like a 5-year-old. I mean, he kept saying to the moderator, she got more time. And this is what my sister and I used to do when we were literally toddlers. Oh, she can do anything she wants, and I can't watch any of my shows. The idea that this is somebody who they're seriously considering electing, even if he loses, that is a depressing thought. But yes, I do think the media has to do a much better job of that.
But again, his supporters and all the people on Fox News, they buy this all. They like it.
I know, but the media has to understand that, again, fair and balanced. They got that in their head, which they think means, well, I say this to this guy and I say the exact thing to the other guy.
Yeah, what I found particularly relevant was what he said about the fair and balanced, right? Is that just letting someone say something. And here's the thing, right? Is if you're talking to two people and one of them says, well, it's a well-known fact that the Earth is flat, or that the sun revolves around the Earth, it's kind of your job as a journalist or even a host of something to say, well, that's fundamentally untrue. And what the media has done, and I agree with him on this, in a lot of the outlets, has just let them prattle on saying whatever they want to say.
Well, there has been this huge arc, Z, between the early Trump days of the campaign, let's call it the first 8 months, and then the last 7. The first 8 months, everybody wanted him. They would take him either by phone, in person, whatever. They just wanted him. Every single show out there wanted Donald Trump. We don't need to get into the whole CBS thing, how it may not be good for the country, but it's good for the network, etc. The bottom line was the media created, with the aid of the GOP, but the media created Donald Trump. And when they finally started waking up was only when the media, that is, started to very mildly push back against some of the things that he was saying that just couldn't be fact-checked to the nth degree and make any sense at all. All of a sudden, Mika Brzezinski's a whore and she's sleeping with Joe Scarborough. And then it was, this one here and that one there. And all of a sudden, he's only doing what network?
Yeah, Fox.
Fox, that's it. No other network, and he's still doing no other network.
And pretty much his own. Let me just one quick thing. This morning at 8:33 a.m., Donald Trump tweeted the following. Of course there is large-scale voter fraud happening on and before Election Day. Why do Republican leaders deny what is going on? So naive.
Right. And then he attacked Paul Ryan as he's headed to Wisconsin today, and that was really just to try to embarrass Paul Ryan. The thing that he doesn't realize is that Paul Ryan won his primary by 84% of the vote, and is loved in the part of Wisconsin that Trump would need to win the state, which he can't do. With all that said, the media will never be able to forgive themselves for what they did. I really don't believe that they can. And this morning, as I said to you off air, Joe Scarborough went on and on and on and on about the Wikileaks thing, only to appease the criticism that Donald Trump has about the media. So that, and it's my opinion, I don't know this to be fact, but think about it. As we said at the very top of the show, they haven't found anything real. And when Sam Stein pushed back against Joe Scarborough, Scarborough cut him off and filibustered him. Tell me that's not about appeasing Donald Trump.
Well, of course, yeah, and it's sad, you know.
All right, I wanted to get to one more story before we wrapped it up today. In Indiana, there was a center, a nonprofit center that was put up to help register voters. Now, it's mostly in an African-American community. They have done an extraordinary job of registering 45,000 new voters. Beautiful number. Most of them black. Well, I'm going to let this ad that was put together speak for itself, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
Indiana State Police recently shut down our state's largest voter registration program. This police raid was under the leadership of Republican Governor Mike Pence. Now, 45,000 citizens, almost all African Americans, could lose the right to vote. Victims of this police intimidation are speaking out.
They singled out one African American male, put him in handcuffs. They lined us up against the wall, treat us like criminals. We asked to talk to our attorney, but they wouldn't let us.
Republican Governor Pence vows to continue this suppression of African American voters.
We got a pretty vigorous investigation into voter fraud.
No, Governor, you do not have voter fraud. You are leading a government attack against your own citizens to stop African Americans from voting. For more information, go to don'tbetrayindiana.org. Paid for by Patriot Majority USA, which is responsible for the content of this advertising. PatriotMajority.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
All right, now Patriot, they're a left-leaning group. So I'll say that up front. There's their bias, but it doesn't change the facts, Z. It doesn't change the facts that they went in, closed down this office, took their computers, took all of their paperwork, etc. And the police chief that is quote-unquote investigating this said it could take months before they finish their investigation, which means the 45,000 people that have been registered may not get to vote on Election Day. Now, here's the crazy thing. As they have looked at some of these false affidavits, these false registrations, they're false because they maybe had the wrong area code on the application or the wrong zip code. Where's the crime in that?
Well, that's huge.
Where's the crime? All right, we're going to leave it there for today. Hey, give me the 411 again.
Yeah, please go to tndztalk.com. Find out how to follow us, friend us, tweet us, Facebook us, iHeart us, hashtag us, iTunes us, everything. And more importantly, click on support and find out how you can support us. We've been very busy covering Trump because that seems to be the main thing on people's minds, and also on ours because we really can't stand to get him, see him in the White House. But we do promise you that after the election, there will be a lot more to cover. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to cover. There's always a lot more to cover. So please go to tnztalk.com, click on support, and support us. We are listener-supported radio podcasting.
All right, and for those that wonder what Donald Trump might be doing after the election's over, God forbid he loses, there's a story out of CNBC this morning that Trump's son-in-law, Mr. Kushner, has approached financiers about a television network. We'll leave it there. Richard, is always a pleasure. I want to thank the audience. Again, TNZTalk.com. Make that donation today. We appreciate it. I'm Tony Trupiano for the aforementioned Richard Zombeck. We wish you a great day, and as always, we ask that you be well.
Oh yeah, can you feel it? Just over the credits, just riffing now. Words and chords. Not the poetry and the real thing, but not bad for an ad-lib. Not good, but... It's not long enough, so just do a little bit more, and that's nearly done. That's the final credit there. That's the end.